Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. We'll bring Phil Perry and Matt Cassel in just a second. But first, I want to get into what we're going to discuss today, and that's the 5-point plan to rectify the Patriots offense. Now, why are they where they are? I think a lot of it has to do with communication. For instance, it feels chaotic. When you look at their plan on Sunday, I'm not sure what their plan was. Phil Perry asked Matt Patricia this week about some of the sideline communication. This answer actually contributes to my notion that they're having a hard time communicating. This is brought to you by Shaw's, perfecting the art of fresh. Matt?
I'm just curious if you felt like on Sunday that you got enough time with Mac to sort of have whatever exchanges you guys need to have, and how does Joe factor into the equation, maybe relaying some information that he gets from Mac to you as you guys get ready offensively?
Yeah, definitely. The headsets are pretty cool. There's a lot of people on the headsets, and you have guys up top that have different responsibilities, and they're giving you information down below. Obviously, the coaches on the field that are talking to the position groups. You don't necessarily have to be standing right next to somebody in order to be communicating with them, which is a great part of it. We have different lines on our headsets, so we can switch to different channels and talk to different, maybe isolated groups if we need to get direct communication back and forth, whatever that may be from what we're seeing in the game. So I think all of that stuff is something we always try to improve on, and we always try to get better. And certainly every game that we've had, starting with the preseason to the regular season, there's been different things that we've been able to learn to try to communicate better as we go. And, with Joe over there, obviously working with Mac and Hoyer directly on the bench, I'm just clicked on with them, and we're talking back and forth as I'm working through with the offensive line, Billy Yates upstairs, and obviously the other coaches on those lines too. So it's really just like a big conversation all happening at the same time. And we have an order, a sequence that we go through with that communication so that we're all getting the information that we need out of the plays, from the particular series that we just got done with. So just continually trying to streamline that info, but it's great. I mean, if there's something I need, I can just walk down and we can have different conversation at that standpoint too. If it's something maybe that I saw in a picture that, I want to show or go down there, it's pretty neat with all the technology and how we can kind of communicate without being necessarily right in the same spot.
It's a little bit wordy, right? And these are the guys, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, who is a human word waterfall himself, who are communicating on behalf of Bill Belichick. The same Bill Belichick who has always been simplicity first. And what I think we have is a situation where a couple of talented coaches who are respected by Bill Belichick have been put into situations where they're extremely enthused about trying to do the best job they can. And they are fountains of ideas. And they are fountains of notions on how to get things done. And that's something that actually Mike Lombardi, a former Patriots executive, spoke about recently.
I think when you make changes like this, your focus, you have so many people that want to have an impact, want to do different things, that you lose your focus a little bit. And I think this is what you see in the summer with the Patriots. I think you see a little lack of focus in that area because they're kind of all over the place, right? And so I think what Bill is very much like Steve Jobs in the sense of how he thinks about things. But, there's a great quote. Steve Jobs says, people think focus means saying yes to things you focus on. But that's not what it means at all. It means saying no to the other 100 good ideas that are there. You have to pick carefully. I'm actually proud of the things we've done as the things I have done. Innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. I think this is the challenge that awaits Bill as he watches his offense this summer. How does he say no to all these ideas that these new coaches have come into and remain focused on the task at hand? I think that's the really challenge, right? Yep. I think that's what they have to do.
So it's not a surprise that it looked a little whack in week one. How do the Patriots fix it? Because basically right now they have a kitchen that's been churning out great food for years. And all of a sudden we have pots overflowing and smoke pouring out of pans and diners out there wondering when their food's going to get out and sending their soup back because there's a hair in it. How do the Patriots get those plates filled with delicious food and a few more points than 7, which is what they put up against the Miami Dolphins? Well, here come Cassel, here come Perry, here come a bunch of ideas of how they can accomplish it. And it's not like they're not trying. From everything Phil and I know, these poor guys are working until virtually daybreak to get it done. So, take a nap, fellas, and let us do the work for you. All right, here are the aforementioned Phil Perry and Matt Cassel. Matt, you wanted an introductory statement before we get into point one. Make it now.
Right. I just think that, we want to point out 5 different areas in which we can get better as an offense. But you have to understand the Patriots offense is always ever evolving, and they're a game plan offense, which means every single week there's different wrinkles. There's different areas of concerns going up against a certain defense. So you're going to attack them differently. So they're going to attack the Pittsburgh Steelers much differently than they attacked the Miami Dolphins, just based on matchups, based on fronts, based off blitz packages. So when you're trying to go in each and every week and say, well, if they just did these 5 things, it'll be completely different. This game plan or this personnel grouping or these formations might look completely different this week than anything that you saw last week. So it's easy to generalize and say, hey, this is my points. But at the end of the day, you have to understand that going into every single game week is definitely a different game plan.
All right. All that said and well said, so that we can look at this and, the elemental aspects are going to pivot anyway. So it's not as if they actually watched our pod and then pivot when they do look different on Sunday. Phil and Matt, I actually defer to you guys on this because you get more into the X's and O's than I do. I'm a 30,000 foot guy. Matt, let's bat around point one. We'll do this for about 2.5, 3 minutes, and then we'll get to point two. Phil, jump in as necessary.
For me, point one would be change up tempo. I mean, and you've seen it over the last few years throughout a lot of the different offenses, especially high-powered offenses, whether it's the Chargers, whether it's the Rams, whether it's the Chiefs. I mean, you've got these offenses where if you huddle and you're stagnant and you break the huddle, well, what does that do? It's easy communication for the defense, right? They can get lined up. They can make their calls. They make their adjustments. You might motion from slot to a normal formation, that's a balanced formation. And it's easy for them to communicate that. But all of a sudden, you start pressing the tempo as an offensive unit. You get to the line of scrimmage, and all of a sudden now you're back on the line of scrimmage. Well, that really confuses the defense at times, right? And you can still run that offense. You can even muddle huddle. But when you get on the line of scrimmage, you press the issue, and that allows you to kind of set the tempo. And you don't always have to snap the ball right away, right? But at the same time, it puts pressure on that defensive unit, and I think it allows you to operate with a little more simplicity when you're looking at the defensive side, because they have to be.
They equipped to do that yet, Phil?
I think they are, only because we saw it very briefly in week 1. I thought it was maybe their best play of the entire game. The Dolphins show 0 blitz, and what does Mac Jones do? They get to the line pretty quickly. They probably were expecting it. It was early in the game. Quick snap, quick one-step drop, I think it was, Matt. He swings it out to the outside to Nelson Aguilar on a little wide receiver screen, and they end up picking, I think, 15 yards up on a third and very long. And so that, to me, was a great use of tempo, especially against a team that likes to bring pressure. Maybe you don't allow them to get set and bring those blitzes the way Matt was describing. I think moving forward, you're going to see plenty more pressures because of the way the Dolphins played, and those teams, those defenses aren't going to stop bringing pressure on a weekly basis until you prove you can stop it. So maybe this is one of the ways you can stop it. Tempo. I'm on board. Cosign.
All right. Back to the genius. Cassel, what do we got for point two?
Point two, I think this offense has to take more shots. And you don't have to do it 5 times a quarter or anything like that where we're bombs away every single time you get the football. But you have to show the opposing defense, particularly the DBs, that you can't sit on our intermediate route game. And that's where they kind of live in anyway, right? They major in the intermediate route concept, trees, whatever you want to call it. But when you took the shots in the fourth quarter of last game, for instance, you took the one shot to Nelson Aguilar down the sideline. You had an opportunity. We missed outside. I get it. You come right back to Kendrick Bourne.
Right?
He was open. Absolutely. He created separation. Then you come right back and you hit Kendrick Bourne on his one play of the day, but he goes down the field, makes a big play. That's an explosive, right? And they have to be able to show defenses that they can't come up and just sit on those intermediate routes, that they can't jump our routes. Instead, we're going to blow the top off the coverage. We're going to take our shots. And if we hit them, that's a great result. But just showing defense that you have that in your bag is going to be a benefit for these guys on the outside.
Ongoing malady, isn't it, Phil?
It is. To me, Matt, the Dolphins proved that their issues, Patriots' issues from last year, continue into 2022, at least so far, insofar as all the Dolphins did was play single high safety coverages, it felt like, for 99% of that game. On Sunday, they were daring the Patriots to throw it outside. They were daring them to push it down the field, to take advantage of those one-on-one situations. After that pick on the first drive where Mac Jones did take a shot, ends up being a turnover, it felt like they very rarely did it until the game was essentially out of hand. So I don't know what you can do to improve your talent level on the outside, but I would give those guys a few more opportunities. I guess, Tom, one way to improve the talent level is to get a talented guy like Kendrick Bourne on the field more often.
All right, we're motoring. I feel points are going on the board as we speak. Point 3, Cassel.
Point 3 to me is you got to win it on first and second down. Put yourself in favorable third downs. It's as simple as that. This league's too hard when you get in third and long. There, you saw last week with the pass rush that the Miami Dolphins were able to come after you with. Look, when they can pin their ears back, they know that you have to throw. It becomes a lot harder. You don't have as much time. You feel that pressure as a quarterback. You feel that pressure to get the ball out. And usually it's difficult to just convert those third downs. And then also when you're going first, second, third down. So to me, you got to win, whether it's the run game, but you can't have blown assignments in the run game. You got to have more positive plays on first down. But first and second down, you got to put yourself in favorable position on third down so that you have that run pass option. And once again, you're at the advantage in that position as an offensive unit.
That's one thing that I looked at with this team so often last year where Matt said, you don't want to be a first, second, third down team. The Patriots are constructed that way. It takes them 3 plays to get 10 yards, generally speaking, which is what Bill Belichick, as a defensive coach, always wants to see an offense do. Let's make them progress, matriculate the ball down the field. We don't want chunk plays. The Patriots are not a chunk play team, so that means there's an even finer margin for error that they have to satisfy.
Well, look at that first drive in that game against the Dolphins. Long, extended drive. The more plays you run, the higher the likelihood that you run into a mistake and a backbreaking mistake like the one they ran into. Or look at their one scoring drive, 15 plays, almost 8.5 minutes. That's great. You punch it into the end zone, but how sustainable is that you're not going to make a mistake that sets you back, take a sack, have a penalty that leads to a punt, or maybe forces you to kick a field goal. So first and second down, I'm with Matt. And I would add, Tom, you have to come up with some change-ups in the running game. I know they liked the way they ran the football early. It was a lot of crack toss. It was a lot of inside zone. And I think by the time you got to the third and fourth quarters, the Dolphins were all over those things. That's why they had so much less success, the Patriots did, running the football as the game got later on.
Matt, is there a feeling as a quarterback, before we take a quick break and then come back with our final 2 points, is there a feeling as a quarterback, you could see the Patriots when they had those long drives. It was like, we know we're going to pick up 10 yards here. We know we're just going to keep converting. You can't stop us. So we're not sweating 3rd and 4, as opposed to a team that's like, holy crap, it's 3rd and 4. How are we going to get this? I mean, there must be different ways to have those 15-play drives.
There are. And even if you look at the way that they came out, the Patriots did in the first drive of the game, there wasn't a number of third downs in that drive because they were getting first downs on first and second down, which is what you ideally want to do. But also, when you're in those type of situations where you're 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, that's much more manageable. When you get to that 3rd and 6 to 9, and then we got the 3rd and 10 plus, you only have so many plays on those call sheets. Like you usually have about 5 to 6 in that 3rd to 6 to 9. 10 plus, you don't want to be in at all, but you've got about 4 to 5 plays there that you really like. Same thing, you might have 6 plays in that 3rd and 3 to 5 area, right? So the longer you go in the game and you keep having those, and you rank them too. So number 1 on 6 to 9, I love this play. Number 2, I like it a lot. Number 3, Number 4, not so much. Number 5, I hope you don't have to call this, right? And it's the same way in every single category there. So as you go on the game and you continue to get in those 3rd and long situations, as you get down that list, you're going, maybe I want you to call this number 1 again in that category, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you ever want to go back up the list and do the same thing? Phil, I think, is going to talk to someone for the next Pat's podcast, JT O'Sullivan, who will go over the intricacies of the Patriots play calling in game 1. You're going to want to keep your peepers open for this. We'll be back in just a second. Welcome back in Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. Here's what the Patriots did on their drives last week against Miami. This is brought to you by Shaw's, perfecting the art of fresh. You can see for yourself, just one scoring drive, and yeah, the number of them ended in Miami territory, but didn't yield much. All right, we bring it back to the pod right now. Here's Phil, Matt, and myself. All right, here we are again. It's Cassel, it's Perry, it's me. Let's get to those final 2 points. You guys are doing a bang-up job fixing everything.
Yeah, to me, I mean, there's another part of it, right, that you always can say, have a lot of different personnel groups, right? Go 13 personnel, which is 3 tight ends, 1 back, 1 receiver. Go 12 personnel, switch it up. But again, you have to look at the strength of your offensive unit, who the players you are that you want out there. And so the variations once again might change based on the personnel of the defense. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and criticize personnel, but what I do like is for formational variety. And by that, I mean stacks, bunches, different looks that give the defense something to think about. That once again, you're not stagnant. You're just not going up, lining up in a simplistic formation, but starting in a bunch and then exploding. If you're going to get into a bunch, explode to the other side and move the entire formation, make them communicate on the run. I think anytime you make the defense communicate, especially at the second level and in the secondary, that's a benefit to the offense. So for me, the more that they can do that and it kind of put that and implement that into the offense, it doesn't have to be something crazy. You have to be able to manage it within the week, but do that and it'll really help increase your chances of just getting a better understanding for what the defense is doing.
Phil, I rewatched the sack on that led to the back injury, Drew roughing the passer call on Mac, and he had to do so much directing prior to that snap. He had Nelson Aguilar in motion and then motioning back. And Aguilar really in his secondary motion looked like the ball was snapped a smidge before, or Aguilar was a little bit slow in coming across the formation for the second time and wasn't able to get the cut block he was trying to get, wasn't able to reach out and get, I think it was defensive end who was coming because they brought 6 on that play. The timing didn't look great either. They didn't motion very much as well.
Yeah, I think whether you're looking at motion or whether you're looking at play action percentage or RPO percentage, there are things that some of these offenses that I think the Patriots are in some ways trying to model themselves after. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay. Those are offenses that are relatively simple in terms of, at least that's my understanding of it. That's what I've seen said and read about these offenses is there's not a million concepts, right, Cassel? They dress them up differently though, and they may use different motions. They may use different formations to try to keep things simple. I think the Patriots could probably benefit from that kind of approach. Hey, let's stick with these plays that we love that you're talking about, our highest ranked plays, but let's maybe make them look a little bit different from series to series. I'm not sure if they're there yet, though, offensively, Matt. Maybe it's just too early in this stage of implementing this new system to be that varied with some of those similar concepts.
Well, it's just window dressing, right? You can run the same concept or the same even run concept or pass concept and just motion to it in a different way, right? Get to it in a different manner. Give them a different pre-snap look. Once again, it's just different variations of how you can give that window dressing, that appeal to them that it's something different. But really, guess what? We're getting to the same formation, same look, and we're going to run this exact same play right at you, right? So it's just different ways to become creative with your offense. And when you do that, because the success rate goes up when you're really good at something. Your offensive line blocks these five run plays really well. Well, we want to major in those run plays. If your quarterback Mac Jones reads this type of progression read, why not call more of those progression reads? Just somehow find a different way to get to it, and that's part of being, a creative offensive coordinator and a creative offense altogether.
Great stuff. This is awesome. Appreciate you guys. Give me one more, Cassel.
I think Phil brought up a great point with the play action, the RPOs. Anytime that you can run the ball, which they weren't very successful running the ball, but to marry your run game with your play action pass. I thought that was one of the strong points of Mac Jones' game last year. I think it was one of the strong points of the New England Patriots offense last year was their play action pass. And again, it goes hand in hand with the success of your run game. If you're not being successful in the run game and you're not being able to break that, well, you're not going to get the second level to, come up anyway to get behind them. But I think once they get that run game going, to marry those same looks with the play action pass is always a benefit to any good offense.
It was unfortunate for them. I thought in that Miami game, the first hard play action they really ran was late in the third quarter. It ended up being Jonnu Smith's first catch. If you remember, he starts that play blocking and then just sort of releases as a safety valve. But they had hard play action on that play, and they would have, I think, had Jacoby Myers or Nelson Aguilar wide open going down the field because the linebackers bit hard. The unfortunate part about this, and this is maybe an additional point, a bonus point, if you will, you just have to be on your details. On that play, Nelson Aguilar, for some reason, it looked like bent his route back to be almost on the exact same track that Jacoby Myers was on. You had two receivers basically running in the exact same area of the field, where Mac Jones was looking on the opposite side of the field, hoping that one of those guys was going to break open. Neither of them were there. He ends up going to the check down, and it's a good looking play. But Tom, to me, it's an offense that is still ironing out all the fine details, which on the one hand, I guess should be expected because it's week one, but on the other, really your first play action pass of the entire season, for you not to be on top of it a little bit better, having had a month to prepare, that's maybe a little bit of a red flag.
Can only imagine how difficult a week this has been for the Patriots Spartan coaching staff. Not a lot of guys on that staff, and I am sure that they are being ground down to dust as they prepare for Pittsburgh. Guys, we only needed 20 minutes to solve this. Good night. Enjoy the game Sunday, guys.
Hey, Cassel can't get hired. We need him. Okay. So the Patriots need to stay away.
No,
okay.
No. Ratings aren't that high yet. They don't even know we're doing this. Put the arm away. Put the arm away.
Oh, you're saying just the coach, not even the player.
I'm saying his own
Phil, I thought you were trying to bring me back. I still got something left in the pistol.
No, you're
not even a cannon anymore. It's just a little pea shooter. Beep-boo. Boo-boo.
All right, thanks so much. And now, if the Patriots just follow our advice down in Pittsburgh, everything will work out fine. They'll be 1-1, and then they'll have their home opener against Baltimore, and you can all put your hands together and be happy to see the Patriots there. Free Kendrick Bourne. Have a great weekend. Enjoy everything that you do.